Hello there. It turns out that Dominic Cummings may well have scotched a plot to extend Brexit, a plot hatched while he and Boris were both ill. Firstly, please subscribe and like this video to give my channel a boost, and I'm always uploading new content, so please do check back daily. According to a report in Breitbart and rumours now circulating social media, on his return to work, Dominic Cummings unearthed a plot to extend Brexit while he and the Prime Minister Boris Johnson were incapacitated with coronavirus. Breitbart reports that Boris Johnson's under-fire chief advisor, Dominic Cummings, squashed a plan to delay Britain's true Brexit day, which was all but agreed while he and the Prime Minister were laid out on their sickbeds. And it goes on to say that what has been less extensively reported than the alleged misdemeanours of Mr Cummings was the fact that on recovering from the invisible enemy, one of Cummings's first acts was to squash a plan concocted by underlings to delay Britain's true Brexit day of the 31st of December 2020, while he and the Prime Minister were laid low. But those involved would know that they had a very tight window within which to operate and achieve what would in effect be an anti-Brexit coup. Something that would chain us to the next EU 7-year budget cycle that would be extremely difficult to extricate ourselves from. And to do that, they would also need to change UK law. So they would need Boris and Cummings out of the way while they put things in motion and garnered enough support in the Tory ranks to vote for it. And don't try and tell me that part of that plot would not have involved the pre-briefing of certain sections of the press to get the story out in the correct manner to make it all seem such a sensible and obvious thing to do. Especially if the move were to originate from the European Union, to make it look as if the UK was not caving in, but acquiescing to a reasonable request. And I gather that did indeed appear to be the plan. As Jeremy Warner said in The Telegraph on the 12th of May, a deal to extend the transition in the light of the crisis had been all but agreed at official level. The EU was to have spared the UK's blushes by proposing it, rather than the other way around. This would have allowed the UK government to present the concession as a favour to the EU rather than a climb down. But then Dominic Cummings, the Prime Minister's chief advisor, returned and the plan concocted by underlings while he and Boris Johnson were laid out on their sickbeds was scuppered. Now the question is, did the press know the whereabouts of Dominic Cummings during his self-isolation period back then? Had they known or had proof, surely they would have acted quickly to get shot of him back then, instead of waiting until there are fewer than 40 days to go until the last possible Brexit extension decision day, the 30th of June. Especially when Parliament is in recess until the 2nd of June, leaving then only 28 days. I'm not sure they had any inkling at all, otherwise they'd have been camped out on the road outside the Cummings parents' home in their droves, with photographers roaming the woods, villages and towns for any sight of him they could get. So can you imagine the sheer feather-spitting anger of impotence those members of the lefty press must be feeling right now? Especially after they managed to get him into the number 10 Rose Garden for a public trial by media and signally failed to land any punches at all. After all the talk of forensic questioning, it turned out that it was much of the press stories that had contained most of the lies. The situation must be equally galling to those Tory MPs who either hate Cummings enough to want him gone, whatever the outcome for Brexit, and those that just want Brexit reversed. And the Tory ranks are full of both of those types. They'll shed no tears for a Cummings sacking. In fact, you'd be able to hear the Westminster bubble cheers in Cornwall. They all know that with Cummings gone, the chances of extending, then reversing Brexit increase manyfold. All they would have to do is target Boris and a couple of Brexit stalwarts in the Tory party, and the first stage of agreeing a Brexit extension would definitely be on the cards. So no wonder more Tory MPs are surfacing saying Cummings must go, and no wonder the press are doubling down on the Cummings story. And I do have to wonder how many Tory MPs have submitted letters of no confidence in their leader to the chairman of the 1922 committee, Sir Graham Brady. It takes 55 of them to do so to trigger a vote of no confidence in Boris as their leader. Would they go that far? Well, yes, certainly some of them would, but maybe not 55 of them. In fact, I would surmise that 1 or 2 letters were lodged in Sir Graham's safe the very day Boris got elected as leader. As far as I'm concerned, if those Tory MPs can't back their Prime Minister over this, then they should be lodging those letters publicly, and let's see who's who and what's what. If all they can do is grumble on Twitter, then they obviously do not have the kahunas and can be ignored, can't they? The only other avenue open to them would be to embarrass the PM by voting against him on a government bill, or vote for a damaging motion to one. And I do wonder if the Labour Party leader Keir Starmer is considering an opposition-led vote of no confidence in Boris and his government, just for show maybe. Now this affair may look like some sort of isolated plot, but it isn't. It's part of the long-term plan to dismantle the UK as a nation-state and turn it into no more than an EU county. Over the last 40 or more years, the UK establishment has been purposefully stuffed with what I call good Europeans. And they are the people that put the EU above the UK and who will do all they can in pursuit of their European dream. They are our nation's real invisible enemy. And the trouble is, the establishment remains stuffed with them. Apart from the odd resignation and retirement, they are all still there, together with their protégés and their protégés, all filling the promotions pipeline across the civil service, the police, the NHS, everywhere. Including, of course, the House of Commons and the House of Lords too. And don't forget our judiciary. Never forget the judiciary. They were all happily dismantling UK laws and borders while giving our money away to the EU well before the 2016 Brexit vote. And after that vote, they busied themselves trying to stop Brexit being legally triggered. And then they worked tirelessly at engineering a second referendum. We all remember what went on. And now that the UK has legally left the EU, but we're still trapped in a transition phase where nothing much has changed, the same people are toiling day and night to keep us in transition for as long as possible. And if they get their way, they will labour all hours to ensure we are dragged ever deeper into the EU budget and legal system. They will continue doing what they have always done. They will continue to dismantle the UK state structure. But right now they have about 2 weeks to do the dirty deed of getting rid of Dominic Cummings, and they know that if they don't, then we will be leaving the EU on the 31st of December. But remember that the same people who plotted our ever closer union with the EU before and after Brexit will still be there for years, maybe decades to come. They will not change. They will still try to get our laws to mirror those of the EU, in the hope that when the older Brexiteers are gone, the younger generation, educated by the right sort of teachers, can lead the UK back into the EU. So no, the plot for UK integration into the EU will never stop. Independence is a hard-won thing, but something that is so easy to just give away. Especially when many of the people of the country have never had to fight for anything, let alone their own independence. There is an old saying, hard times create strong men. Strong men create good times. Good times create weak men. Weak men create hard times. And repeat ad infinitum. Anyway, if you want to hear more from me, please don't forget to subscribe and also press that little bell, or you won't get any notifications. And if you want to see more of me, buy a mug with my mug on it. So what do you think about this Brexit extension plot? Please share and comment, and thank you for watching.